I want to show some slides here that the difference between what we have in current Arabic, current day modern Arabic, and how we have differences with the original Mus'haf. So one thing that I want to make clear, that what we have today, word for word, letter for letter, is exactly the same what Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu had. We are not differing even a single letter from that. So even though Arabic evolved and a little bit of grammar changed and the way the words were written changed, some of the things were as was in the Quran of Uthman radiallahu anhu. So let's take some examples like Rahman. What's the difference here? You see, in modern Arabic, if you see, there's like an additional alif here, right? But in the classical Uthmanic Arabic Mus'haf, it was without that. So even there, we put like a little bit of Mad Tabi'i, and it would be like counted 2, so you would read it Rahman. So some people mistakenly read Rahman, so that's wrong. So that an additional, we call that standing alif that we put, that's how we differentiate. And also here, this is Salah. So this is how we write it today, Salah, but during the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu, this is actually how Quraysh wrote. Even though Arabs were not consistent, this is how Quraysh used to write. So wow here basically is silent. So you will not read it salawat, you would read it salah. Okay? So that's the difference. And also minma. Minma, what does this mean? Of what? From what? So they combined it. The Quraysh used to combine these two words and write mimma. They would put they would just make it 2 memes. And there were many such instances as well. And sometimes within the Mus'haf there were one word written differently based on whatever the context is. So that we'll leave it at the. This is what you see in the left side is how the exact copy taken from Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu's Mus'haf. This is how. So can you read this? Anybody? I have it here exactly same. This is how we have today. This is called the Kufi Script. That's how the Quraysh used to write. This is called Kufi. This one, what is it? What is this one called that we have? It's called Naskhi Script. This is what we have here. The one that is printed in Medina, for example, printing complex. This is how it is. And this is taken from what do you call? Suratul A'raf, verse number 86 and 87. You see, it actually doesn't start from 86. If you see the word Allah here, it starts from here. Allah. Sabilillahi. Man amana bihi. Yeah, let me recite it and you try to compare. Just look at this one and see if you can match it up. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. ولا تقعدوا بكل صراط توعدون وتصدون عن سبيل الله من آمن به وتبغونها عوجا واذكروا إذ كنتم قليلا فكثركم وانظروا كيف كان عاقبة المفسدين وإن كان طائفة منكم آمنوا بالذي أرسلت به وطائفة لم يؤمنوا فاصبروا حتى يحكم الله بيننا وهو خير الحاكمين. And this one, where does this end though? This doesn't end at so let's like try to compare what's the difference, the main differences between the actual Kufi script and the Naskhi script. The very first thing that you notice here, the difference is there is no fatha, kasra, dhamma, tashkil, right? There's no tashkil. That's the first difference. And also the second difference, major difference, is the letter itself is different a little bit. If you see, this one is like alif, lam, lam, ha. Alif is a little bit different. What is this one? This is man. You see the noon is like kind of raw, right? But everybody would read it like noon during those days. And so for some reason, alif is like separated a long distance from the other letter. So this one is amana, bihi. Yeah, there's another difference is that they call it nuqad, the nuqad, the dots, it's missing. Like jim, ha, kha, all would look the same, exactly the same. How would they know? How would they know when it is jim, ha, or kha? It's based on the context, so they can easily find out. So they will read so fluent, just like how recited, they'll read faster than me, and they will know exactly based on the context whether it is jim, ha, kha, fa, qaf, what letter it is. So they are very fast in that. And also another difference is that you see, where does the verse end here? Like it ends here, right? Mufsideen. It ends here. And yeah, so you see in this particular mushaf, they didn't have where the verse ended. That's a major difference. It was later on the scholars made ijtihad, and they said they collected all the ahadith and all the how Prophet Muhammad used to stop at a certain verse. So they made ijtihad, and they said, okay, it's going to stop here. And so they made a critical mark here that, okay, the verse is ending here. That's why we have a little difference of opinion. Somebody says 6236 verses, which is the standard. Some of them said 6400, something like that. So there's difference of opinions, but majority said 6236 is the closest and the most correct opinion. What other difference do you notice here? Again, we also introduced this jim and soleh, and it gives you hints how to stop, when not to stop, and the basic details. So all these things were added later on. But one thing that I want really to focus here is that you take any word, any line, you will find letter for letter exists in this one. Even you see the silent letters, right? For example, let's take wanzuru, right? You see this waw. What is there after waw? Alif, right? The waw and alif both are silent. You can really ignore this, but it was there in this mushaf as well. I think it's this. In the fourth line, fifth line. You see this one? This is the waw and this is the alif. So you can just keep checking, and every letter matches in Kufi script that we had. It matches with this one, Naskhi script. The only difference you would find is the tashkils and the dots. These were added later on. We will cover that history, who added it, why they added it, why did we have these different versions. But even though we have different versions, letter for letter is preserved, is exactly as it is. So the basically is the change of alphabet structure basically. So noon looks like ra, something like that. So these changes, the scholars said, as time goes by, people can change the shape of the letter, but the letter itself has to be the same. In Arabic language, for example, noon should be noon. Okay, that flexibility the scholars gave, but a letter can never be missed. Okay, it doesn't mean that you, like, for example, use a Latin script. That is not Arabic language in the first place, right? So you cannot substitute it, but it has to be from the Arabic language or something similar to it. That's why the Indian subcontinent people, they use a little bit different script here. We're going to cover that, the Farsi script, later on. But the shape looks different, but all the alphabets, each and every letter is preserved in there. So that flexibility scholars give. The scholars, even today, like if you see, they introduced this in this, like last 10 years, they introduced this new mushaf called the color-coded tajweed rules. You must have seen it, right? How they mark it. So this is something new invention, but the scholars said it is okay, because the only condition, they said that as long as you guys have every letter from the Uthman's mushaf, it is okay. Otherwise, they said, you are committing a sin.
But why do they have those letters which is silent on the first place?
That's how Quraysh used to write. That's how Quraysh used to write. So that's, even we do in English too today. We have silent letters.
Island.
Yeah, so island, the brother example, it's there in every language. So some people would ignore it, but if you are ignoring the letter, you're committing a sin. It's an ijma now, a consensus. And whenever there is a consensus of scholars, it becomes a law in Islamic Sharia. If you don't follow it, you're committing a sin. So apart from that, you can add whatever calligraphy you want. You can beautify and all those things. Even in this Kufi script, like now we have, every surah has some decoration on the top, right? Whenever it starts, like what the name of the surah is, and how when surah starts and so on, and this hizb and ruku and all these things, these are all decorations to help people. This was not part of the Kufi script itself. So why did they introduce it in the first place? Why don't we just learn Kufi script? The reason is simple, is because the Arabic language evolved and the people got used to different languages, and even the Arabs now, if you give this to them, they won't understand. They can't read it. There's no way, unless a sheikh like a hafiz, like him, he can probably read it very easily, probably figure out. You see there's so much major difference here. It's not so easy. This one is like I have it here. It's like the, right? This one is a the, dal, val. This one is a the, and this one looks exactly similar, but this is kaf. They look exactly same, but based on the context and also whether it is combining with the previous letter or not, they would know, okay, this is val or kaf. But they would read it very fast. It's very amazing. Even in Urdu, we don't have fatha, kasra, dhamma. People just read it based on context. So similar concept here. So the important thing that I want to mention, and I will close with this, that we don't use Kufi script today, but we have different variations of it. One of them is Naskhi, Farsi, and we'll also look at Maghribi script later on. So some people are like, okay, if you don't have the copy of this Naskhi script, that is not a valid mushaf, or that shouldn't be used in reciting the Quran. So some people take very extreme position. So the answer that we give them is that even the Naskhi script was not the part that wasn't used by the Sahaba. Okay, if you give this to the Sahaba, they would be amazed, like what is all these things? They probably would not be able to read this. Allahu alam. But just saying that this is the only script that is valid because it is being printed by the Medina printing complex, that's not a valid reason. Even though this is the standard, this is like published like everywhere, it's found in every masjid, and this is my favorite script too, but still it doesn't mean the other script is all bad and invalid. No, this is good, but if people are using other mushafs, other scripts, that's fine. Only condition that needs to be met is what? Letter for letter has to match from the Uthman's radiallahu anhu's mushaf. That is important.